everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? I just want to clear something up. Everybody always asks me, is that singing in the intro? And it's not me. So that is Leon Timbo. If you want a really good R&B kind of good music, Leon Timbo has an album, and I think it's called Love What's All About. I can look him up, Leon Timbo. So good afternoon, everybody. We see let's see who we got. Lena, come on, hello. Darius Charles on D, Abby, Rosemore, and we're still gonna get Miss Abby and Larry on the podcast. Forever. And I think they have a lot of wisdom to share with us. So that's gonna happen. I'm claiming it. So those of you who are watching for the first time, this is Marriage Matters, the podcast. We talk about all things relationships. Primarily marriage, but we look at information that will be used across the board. I'm joined. My name is Colin, and I'm joined by my beautiful wife, and she is just like glowing. I don't know if you see it. I see it. I'm
Tanya Coleman, guys.
How you doing?
Good.
So yeah, man, girl, you looking good tonight. You got great stuff. See. Anyway, so let's get into today. So we talk about intimacy in marriage, and so
thank you, Miss Abby.
We're talking about intimacy in marriage. So like we said, this month we're celebrating a lot. Celebrating 20 years of marriage.
Yes.
This month on May 26th.
Yes.
20 years ago, we walked down the aisle.
Yes.
And tied the knot, if you will. We also celebrated Marriage Matters podcast. So one of the things that we're trying to do is stay consistent, be consistent, and again, we're just really interested in the preservation and this week celebrate be better and grow this area of sexual intimacy. And so that's what we're talking about this week.
That's it. I'm excited about it.
Okay, well, let's jump in. So this I wanted to talk about something. And there's a scripture in the Bible in James, and he's talking about some of you have not because you ask, and when you ask amiss, because your intent in asking is to receive it upon lustful wants and desires. So it's like that scripture to me, it speaks to a word that I use a lot. It's the word is motive.
Yeah.
So motive. So that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. Motive, or the lens in which you see intimacy or your sexual relationship with your spouse through.
There's a static sound. Anyone else receive the sound is staticky? Let us know, please.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let me check this. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm not sure. All right. Well, we're gonna keep going. Let us know.
Give us thumbs up or something if the static is good for you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
So the lens in which we see our sex through. So sex is all about. So this is some of the notes I put here. Sex is all about knowing someone and letting them know you completely and honestly.
Yeah.
So in the past we talked about vulnerability, and that is such a big part of intimacy.
Right.
Is vulnerability. So if it's about letting somebody know you and you know them completely and honestly. I think a lot of times one of the missing pieces in intimacy is vulnerability, and we're not really honest. And first of all, I don't know. I know for us early on, we really didn't talk. About intimacy. You know what I'm saying? Not in a very open and honest way. It was just kind of very. And I think a lot of it. A big part for us was just our upbringing, or being that So for so long, we knew that we were married, and sex is a good thing inside of marriage. Right. Even though I think that the stigma of just don't do it, or it's bad, or whatever. You bring that into the marriage relationship, and it causes, I think, a breakdown into the vulnerability and the intent and the purpose for intimacy in marriage.
Right. I think it plays a huge role in the freedom that you have also, the freedom to enjoy those moments of sexual intimacy with your spouse. When the vulnerability isn't there, or if there is some sort of shame or embarrassment attached to it, then the freedom and the liberty to really express yourself as well as enjoy those times, those moments with your spouse, is limited as well.
Yeah, and I think that once you allow that to happen, that vulnerability to really open up, it really is going to take your intimacy to another level. On all levels, not just sexual, but just knowing each other better.
Absolutely.
Knowing your desires, your likes, your dislikes, all of those things goes to another level. The other thing that you have to be aware of is that's a part of that vulnerability is also mutual sacrifice and collaboration. Mutual sacrifice. So when you get that mutual sacrifice, what comes to your?
Well, if we're talking about sexual intimacy, to me, it is that when you're engaging in sex with your partner, it is about self. All about my needs, my wants, my desires, but I am willing to ask questions and have discussions with my spouse to make sure that their needs are getting met as well. Sometimes it means making arrangements, making adjustments. We're busy people. Sometimes schedules get in the way, and all of these sorts of things. We have to, sometimes plan. That can be a sacrifice. There are many different ways that I think that we make sacrifices in marriage for that level.
Yeah. And so for me, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but the mutual sacrifice is understanding that it's not just about me.
Right.
Not to say that it's not about me, but it's not just
about me.
And it's not just about me getting my needs met. It's a mutual thing that we want to ensure that we are meeting the needs on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, of our spouse. And I think when you do that, it really it really shows your heart towards your spouse. Does that make
It absolutely makes sense. I think oftentimes marriages struggle with those very things because people are afraid to say what they really feel. They're afraid to say what they really think, even their marriage to their spouse, which again, that gets in the way of true vulnerability. Which gets in the way of the freedom and intimacy that we're talking about. People are, well, if I tell him that, then is he going to think this? If I tell him this, what is he going to think? What is he going to, all of those sorts of things go on in your mind. And I'm talking with people who have been married for years, so I think those are the things that we have to work on within ourselves. And that starts outside of the bedroom. That starts with how we live and we do everyday life.
Yeah. And just putting yourself aside, or not. I don't want to say it that way, but just making sure that you are hearing, and full transparency.
I get nervous. Okay, I'm ready.
No, I remember the first time that we had a conversation like this. Mm-hmm. We were spreading the bed. I remember it vividly.
Okay.
And actually, we were watching the morning news, and they were talking about like sexual intimacy or something like that on the news. And the lady split up some statistic, like, I don't know, it was like, 85% of women say they're not satisfied in the bedroom or something like that. So I'm like, not my wife, So I was spreading the bed. I'm like, hey, you don't have that problem, huh? And you looked at me, and you were like, I'll admit that my little ego was like, but I realized in that moment, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Okay. It's not a dig on me.
Right.
It's an opportunity for me to get to know my wife and allow her. And this is another part of that I said, mutual respect and collaboration. Allow her to participate, because so many times in some relationships, when it comes to sex, and I'm not trying to be making a generalization, but a lot of times it's the man who in the relationship, in the marriage, that kind of takes initiation. Right. It takes the initiative. That's what it takes the initiative. So that's like it's like the wife is, you take care of the kids and the groceries and cooking and all that. The bedroom is like a lot of times that's the man's domain. And this is like, we set the mood. We kind of say what's going to happen.
I think that's been society has romanticized that. That is the man's job. The woman comes home and the flower petals and all of that is nice, but it's not always realistic. That's fun to do, but
Well, and I'm just saying that a lot of times it's like the bedroom is like our thing. It's like kind of how society has made it. Like it's but. It's about collaboration.
Yeah.
That is the man's part of the relationship. It's for both of us. It's for our enjoyment together.
Right. I got you.
And so that's what the mutual sacrifice and the mutual collaboration. Does that make sense?
It does. That we both have to have
this, and that's what I was going to say. You have a say-so in this.
Right. And I think maybe that morning of that conversation may have been the first of its kind that we had really kind of had. It just kind of happened out of the blue. You probably were kidding around when you asked.
I was.
It was an opportunity for me to be really honest. Either am I going to not tell the truth, or am I going to tell the truth? So.
And that's again, we always go back to be open, honest. We talk about everything openly, honestly, and often, right? So. And that includes intimacy, right? And you have to be honest with each other and understand that when we're being honest for the sake of the marriage and not trying to belittle anybody or none of that.
It's not a put down.
Right? And so when sex becomes more than just a need, a reward, or transactional, you're losing, or when it is that way, you're losing the meaning of it. So that's what I want to kind of go now to talk about some lenses sometimes by which where people view or look at their intimate relationship or their sexual relationship in. And these can be very harmful to your intimate relationship with your spouse. So the first one I want to talk about is the need lens. So it's like, I have a need.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to be I know this is not true across the board, but I guess a lot when it comes to men, it has needs. You probably heard that terminology before. And I even heard this at a wedding. And the pastor, the wife is in the wedding is like, his number one need is sex. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
That's but so the need lens will always distort, because when you say a need, it's almost like it becomes a task.
Right. Yeah. The scope, the view changes, because now it's something that you need. So it's something that I have to do.
Yeah.
I get that.
And I know this, hey, we here now. So, but it reminds me of The Color Purple, the Miss Ceiling with Mister. It was like I got to go do my wife's duties.
Slavery.
And shame on us, shame on you if you are taking something that's beautiful, something that God created for our enjoyment, our pleasure, and taking it and turning it into a check box, for your wife or for your husband. So I don't want to, that could go either way.
It can go either way.
It's just it's a need that I have, and so it's your desire for your wife or your desire for your husband is driven by this need. I heard a podcast the other day, and I forgot the guy's name. The name of the podcast is Marathon, but anyway, he talked about a lot of times we call it a sex drive. He said, but it's more of like a sex thrive, because he was saying that that sex is need like food,
water, clothing,
right. He said people who have a sexy health life, a healthy sex life, are known to thrive. So your relationship will thrive. And we said this a couple of weeks ago, that sex is not in no way something that's designed to if you're depending on sex to save your marriage, that's not the place.
That's not right.
But we said, we often say that sex is a good barometer to show you, because if you're not having a sexual intimate relationship with a spouse, notice how that's sexually intimate, not just the act, but true intimacy. Something's going on, something's off somewhere in your marriage. Okay. You got anything more to say about that?
A moment ago you said something to the effect of that, or if your desire for your wife is just by your need, to me it sounds like that your desire is really based more on the act rather than displaying to your feeling for them and expressing intimacy with your spouse. You know what I mean? So it's just your need, then to me that is more along the lines of just the act of, rather than the care and the intimacy of the relationship.
Yeah. So anytime you're viewing it that way, so let's talk about the next one be dangerous is an entitlement. Viewing it through an entitlement lens. In other words, I'm married, so this is owed to me.
Right.
We're married, so we are. It's a requirement of marriage. And I don't never see it as a requirement of marriage as much as I see it as a privilege. Of marriage.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift of marriage. I think that's where I feel like we get it twisted when we don't teach on sexual intimacy as much in the body of Christ, because we've allowed the world to take it and put this dirty, negative connotation on it. For it to be a beautiful expression of the marriage relationship. It's a beautiful expression of intimacy, of love, of connectivity, of being one. God's intention for it, but we shy away from because of the way that the world presents it. But I think it's imperative that we take it back, because it belongs to them. And your your happiness, your contentment, your all of the things that we've been talking about, that level of intimacy that you have with your spouse, it is a gift from God, and it is your birthright, you know, to enjoy that moment and that level of intimacy with your spouse.
Right. Yeah.
So
okay, so we'll move on to the next one. That these are distorted. We'll call them that. These are distorted lenses by which you view intimacy and sexual intimacy in your marriage. So the first one we talked about was need. This is a need that I have. Entitlement. The other one is reward or punishment. So in other words, you know, I did all. You know, I got the kids to bed. You know, I wash dishes. I clean the. You know, this, I did this, so I want my reward. I want my reward, right? Or the opposite could be, you know, where I didn't get my way. So I didn't, you know, I couldn't buy that, the new camera that I wanted.
Right.
So, you know what?
And
Okay, we're back.
Got it.
Yeah, we're back now. Sorry about that. But so what were we saying? I lost my train of thought.
You were on the next lens.
Okay, so reward and punishment.
Yeah.
Sex is never to be used as a reward or a punishment. Now it can be rewarding,
sure,
but it's not something that you look for. You know, I do what I do. I'm doing the dishes. I'm doing the laundry. I'm taking care of the kids because I'm a part of this family. I'm a part of this marriage. I love you, so therefore I want to be a helpmate to you, just as you are to me. So I'm never going to expect sex as a reward, and I'm never going to withhold sex as a weapon. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, sometimes as far as withholding, you know, sometimes women get caught up in that withholding because, like you said, they're not getting their way, or there's something there could be something. Oftentimes it's more so that there's something going on in the marriage that has not been addressed.
Right. Again, it's that barometer.
Right.
So if you're going long, I'm not going to say how often, the frequency, all that, but if it's like an extended period of time, unless you guys have agreed upon this extended period, even the Bible says that the only time you should deprive each other of sex is for a period of fasting, and that should be agreed upon. And then after that, you need to come back together, because it says something like, so, you know, you don't want to give room or place for the devil, right? So again, it's that barometer. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No. But I was just saying, you know, we have to make sure that we are mindful of that, and that just, you know, because I didn't get the new Coach bag or, you know, the Louis Vuitton, whatever you're into, doesn't mean that I'm going to refrain from expressing my love to you.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we have to get past that. And if that's oftentimes, like I said, when that's going on, that's because there are some other things within the marriage that need to be addressed.
Yeah. Okay. And so the last one I want to talk about is the last distorted lens that you can look at your sexual intimate relationship through is transactional. Transactional.
Transactional. Yeah.
So
you
in
said
other
that
words,
word earlier, and I was like, That was kind of Say more.
I meant transactional. So in other words, it's kind of like the reward thing, but it's like, so it's like I did something for you, so then you're going to give me sex as a result of me doing something.
Oh, okay.
And there's a term for that.
Yeah.
In the world, they call it prostitution. And I mean, that does not belong in your marriage, right? So sex should never be transactional, in that I'm exchanging, sex for doing something for you. No, it should be a mutual mutual sacrifice and mutual collaboration.
Exactly.
Is the framework or the lens in which we should look. And more than that, I say it's the reason why I have a strong sexual desire towards you is because number one it's my love for you.
Right.
And I know a lot of times, people don't want to intertwine sex and love, but they are meant to go together.
Yes, absolutely.
They are meant to go together. And that sex is a way of expressing my love for you. And when it's done from an expression of love, then it's like, I'll say this way, I want you more than I want the sex.
Yeah.
So the only reason the sex is a vehicle, okay? The sex is a vehicle for me to get closer and get to know her better and in a more intimate way. Does that make sense?
Beautifully said. Yes.
Well, thank you. I try. I try.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I mean, 100%. I think it's the lens. It's how you see it.
Yeah.
It's the state of your heart toward your spouse. It's the state of the marriage, like you said. It's the barometer. It's the thermostat. To check and say, hey, are we healthy? Are we good? Is there something that we need to address? It's an opportunity to express my love to you.
Yeah. And the other part of it is not just about me, like I said it earlier, getting my needs. It's like my goal if you make your intimate relationship with your spouse all about them, not about you, but about them. In other words, I want to make sure you are experiencing pleasure. I want to make sure that you understand that I love you. It's all about my spouse. Then that's the way you ensure that you don't start seeing that intimate relationship through any of these distorted lenses that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I think that perfect. I have nothing else to say.
Okay.
It's good.
All right. So we just wanted to give you guys, just so remember, if you're seeing your intimate relationship, your sexual relationship through a need lens, an entitlement lens, a reward or punishment lens, or a transactional lens, then it's not, I guarantee you that there's somebody's not happy.
Yeah.
I'll say it that way.
And
you may be, if you're operating in that, then you may be happy or you may be fulfilled, but somebody's not.
Right. I was just going to say, there are some words that need to be spoken that have not been spoken.
Yeah.
And so, like, you were saying earlier, we always focus on communicating openly and honestly about everything all the time. I don't believe that a marriage can be as full and as whole, WHOLE, as God intends for it to be if you are not communicating openly and honestly about everything all the time.
Yep.
Because you are withholding intimacy from your spouse.
Yeah. And your spouse deserves all of you.
Deserves all of
the good stuff and the bad.
Yeah. And see, that's the part that people are afraid of.
Yeah. Yeah. And the stuff that you think is just like, I'll tell Tanya, it's like sometimes I don't think you want to know what I'm thinking, because I think if I told you what I'm really thinking, you may be like, oh my God, But I'm learning to I'm just going to, this is what I think about it, and it may not be the popular opinion or it may not, I'll just leave it at that. So anyway, that's all we got for you tonight. Hopefully you got something out of that. If you are watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, hey, please share it. Let somebody else know about the Marriage Matters podcast. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please give us a review. Leave some comments. All those things. We always recommend and invite questions and comments. So you can definitely reach out to us and let us know your thoughts or anything, topics that you would like for us to discuss or talk about. So that's all we have for you tonight. You got anything else?
No.
All right.
This is good. I enjoyed this.
Okay. Well, that's all we have for you. So this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman reminding you that your marriage matters. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.